Generations of American families made it a staple of the breakfast table, orange juice. Now, though, demand is declining and OJ sales are slipping.
Every morning, millions of parents pour their kids a glass of something they think is healthy, but would never touch if they knew what flavor packs actually meant. There are only 3 orange juice brands that skipped this industry secret, and chances are you've never bought any of them. Most orange juice you've ever tasted is a lie. A delicious, pulpy, vitamin C-flavored lie. But Natalie's Orchid Island Juice Company? This is the real deal. The stuff your grandparents actually drank before corporations figured out how to turn oranges into a science experiment. Here's what makes them different. This small Florida operation squeezes their oranges and gets them into bottles within 24 hours of picking. That's it. No fancy tricks, no mysterious warehouse storage. Just oranges, squeezed, bottled, done. And they skip the high-heat pasteurization that 99% of brands use. Why does that matter? Because that brutal heating process kills the natural enzymes and murders the fresh flavor. Natalie's keeps it gentle, so you're actually tasting what an orange is supposed to taste like. The family behind this company started back in 1989. They still own their own groves in Fort Pierce, Florida. Every single step from tree to bottle stays under their control. No middlemen, no corner cutting, no Brazilian oranges sneaking in the back door. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. You're paying around $10 to $12 per half gallon. That stings a little, but one sip explains why professional chefs and juice snobs call this the best commercially available orange juice in America. Here's what you won't find on the ingredient list: added flavoring or orange essence. See, most brands add that stuff back in because their juice sat in tanks for months, losing all its personality. Natalie's doesn't need the cosmetic surgery. You can find it at Whole Foods, Fresh Market, and specialty grocers. Worth the trip if you remember what real orange juice tasted like before everything got processed into oblivion. But premium organic matters too, and one family figured out how to make it accessible. Here's the thing about organic labels. Most of them mean nothing. Just marketing fluff designed to charge you $3 extra. But Uncle Matt's? They've been certified organic since 1999. That's before organic was even trendy. Before celebrities started juicing everything in sight. This family operation sits in Clermont, Florida. 4th-generation citrus growers who made a wild decision decades ago. They looked at their conventional groves, saw all the synthetic pesticides and chemical fertilizers, and said, "We're done with this." Bold move. Risky move. The kind of move your accountant would hate. And it paid off. Independent lab tests consistently show no detectable glyphosate residue in their juice. Meanwhile, several mainstream brands have tested positive for trace amounts of that stuff. You know, the chemical that lawyers keep filing lawsuits about. Probably not what you want with your morning eggs. Now let's talk pasteurization. Most companies blast their juice with extreme heat. Kills bacteria, sure. Also murders about half the vitamin C you thought you were drinking. Uncle Matt's uses a gentler flash pasteurization method. Meets all the safety requirements while actually preserving the nutrients you're paying for. The pulp-heavy version is my personal favorite. Contains real orange fiber that helps your gut instead of that filtered juice water situation most brands sell. Best part? $7 to $8 per half gallon at Kroger, Publix, even Walmart. This isn't some fancy specialty store treasure hunt. You can grab it during your regular shopping trip. Makes sense why health-conscious folks keep coming back. But here's where things get interesting. What if you want quality without paying premium prices? What if there's a cooperative of over 1,000 Florida families delivering exactly that? Florida's natural. This one's different. See, most juice companies answer to shareholders in boardrooms who've never touched an orange tree. Florida's natural. It's owned by a cooperative of over 1,000 Florida grower families. Real farmers. Dirt under their fingernails. When you buy a carton, that money flows back to actual citrus groves, not some executive's yacht fund. Now here's what makes them stand out from the big boys. They only use Florida oranges. Period. No sneaky Brazilian concentrate getting rehydrated and passed off as fresh American juice. And trust me, the major brands do this constantly. They import cheap concentrate, add water, and hope you don't notice. Florida's natural doesn't play that game. The "not from concentrate" label on their carton actually means something. They fresh squeeze the oranges, pasteurize for safety, and bottle it. No stripping the juice down to nothing, storing it for a year, then rebuilding it with flavor chemicals like some kind of orange Frankenstein. And the price? $4 to $5 at most grocery stores. That's everyday affordable. Here's what really matters, though. Flip that carton around and read the ingredients. It just says orange juice. That's it. No added sugar, no artificial preservatives, no mysterious natural flavors that require a chemistry degree to decode. Consumer Reports has run taste tests year after year. Florida's natural consistently ranks equal to or better than brands charging twice as much. My wallet appreciates that kind of performance. Is it as mind-blowing as Natalie's Orchid Island? No. But it's honest juice at an honest price from people who actually grow the fruit. So, those are your 3 winners. But what about the brands filling most shopping carts across America? Tropicana, the orange juice your grandparents trusted. The brand with that iconic image of a straw stuck right into an orange. Here's what that straw is actually sucking from. When Tropicana squeezes their oranges, they don't bottle it and ship it out. Nope. They pump that juice into massive storage tanks. We're talking million-gallon tanks. Then they strip out all the oxygen so it can sit there for up to a year without spoiling. Sounds clever, right? Well, here's the problem. Removing oxygen also removes every bit of natural flavor. What comes out of those tanks tastes like orange-flavored cardboard water. And I'm being generous. So how does it taste like oranges when you pour it? Flavor packs. Seriously. Tropicana hires fragrance companies, the same ones making perfumes, to engineer chemical compounds that mimic fresh orange taste. These get pumped back into the dead juice to resurrect it. It's like putting makeup on a zombie and calling it alive. PepsiCo bought Tropicana in 1998. Since then, quality has taken a back seat to quarterly profits. Cheaper orange varieties, more industrial processing, whatever saves a nickel per gallon. And that beautiful Florida sunrise on the carton? Marketing poetry. Much of that juice sat in a de-aerated tank in New Jersey for months before reaching your fridge. Gets worse. A 2022 class action lawsuit went after Tropicana for their 100% pure labeling. The argument? When you fundamentally transform a product through industrial processing, calling it pure is a stretch. A big one. They also import significant quantities from Brazil despite all that American Grove imagery. But Tropicana isn't even the most deceptive big brand out there. That award goes to their main competitor. Coca-Cola bought Minute Maid back in 1960. And ever since, profit margins have mattered more than what ends up in your glass. Here's what most people don't realize. That carton sitting in your fridge probably started as frozen concentrate. They ship it from wherever oranges are cheapest, thaw it out, add water, then pump in engineered flavors to make it taste like something resembling fruit. Convenient for them, not great for you. Those fancy labels saying premium or home-squeezed style? Pure marketing poetry. There's no legal definition, no standard. A company could squeeze oranges through a gym sock and call it artisan crafted if they wanted. Nobody's stopping them. And where do these oranges actually come from? Wherever the accountants say they should. Countries with pesticide rules that would make American regulators faint. But hey, it saves a few cents per gallon. The ingredient list tells you everything. See natural flavors on there? That's code for scientists in lab coats recreating what the factory processing destroyed. They strip the juice down, then build it back up like some kind of citrus Frankenstein. My favorite part, though? The sugar situation. One glass hits your bloodstream like you just ate a candy bar. Why? Because all that natural fiber that normally slows down sugar absorption? Gone. Filtered out during processing. You're basically drinking orange-flavored simple syrup with a vitamin label slapped on it. 60-plus years of Coca-Cola ownership, and the product has become exactly what you'd expect from a soda company pretending to sell health food. But wait until you hear about Simply Orange. Same corporate parent, fancier packaging, and a secret algorithm that sounds like something out of a spy movie. Simply Orange. The name alone does half the marketing work. Simple, clean, wholesome. Just oranges and nothing else, right? Not even close. This brand is owned by Coca-Cola. Same company that makes Maid. Same industrial facilities. Same processing methods. But slap a premium label on it, charge $2 more, and suddenly everyone thinks they're buying something different. Here's where it gets really interesting. Coca-Cola developed something called the Black Book algorithm. Sounds like a spy novel, doesn't it? It's actually a computer program that blends juices from multiple countries and different harvest seasons to create one consistent flavor. Every bottle tastes the same, whether you buy it in January or July. Natural orange juice doesn't work that way. Real oranges taste different depending on when they're picked. That's just how fruit works. So when your juice tastes identical year-round, something artificial is happening behind the scenes. And about those oranges. In 2012, the FDA investigated Simply Orange after tests found trace fungicide residue. The chemical? Linked to imported Brazilian fruit. So much for that wholesome Florida Grove imagery on the carton. The Simply branding implies minimal processing. But this juice gets pasteurized, deaerated, stored in tanks, then rebuilt with flavor packs. Same song, different verse. Multiple consumer lawsuits have challenged whether 100% pure squeezed constitutes false advertising. The courts are still figuring that one out. You're paying $6 to $7 for marketing genius, not better juice. The processing mirrors cheaper store brands almost exactly. But wait, speaking of store brands, there's one category that might actually be worse than the fake premium stuff. And it's probably sitting in your fridge right now. Sunny Delight. Where do I even start with this one? Let's be honest. This stuff fooled an entire generation of parents, including mine. My mom genuinely thought she was giving me something healthy with breakfast. Turns out, she was basically pouring orange-flavored sugar water into my glass. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Sunny D contains only 2% actual fruit juice. 2%. The rest? Water, high fructose corn syrup, and enough artificial coloring to paint a school bus. And legally, they can't even call it orange juice. Look closely at the label sometime. It says citrus beverage in tiny print. That's food industry code for this isn't what you think it is. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. Back in 1999, a girl in Wales turned yellow-orange, like an Oompa Loompa. Doctors figured out she'd been drinking about 1.5 liters of Sunny D daily. The massive amounts of beta-carotene they add for that fake orange color literally changed her skin pigmentation. The ingredient list reads like a chemistry exam. Sodium hexametaphosphate shows up in there. Fun fact? That same chemical gets used in industrial water treatment and dental cement. Delicious, right? Throughout the 90s, this stuff got marketed directly to kids as a healthy breakfast option. Commercials showed active children and smiling moms. Meanwhile, nutritionally speaking, you might as well hand your kid a can of soda with orange food coloring. The brand has bounced between corporate owners like a hot potato. Each company eventually realizes the same problem. People figure out they've been deceived. Now, speaking of deception at the grocery store, those budget-friendly store brands sitting on the bottom shelf, they've got their own secrets worth exposing. Now, we reach the bargain bin. Store brands. The stuff you grab when you're trying to save a few bucks. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody at Walmart wants you thinking about. Most store-brand orange juice comes from the exact same industrial processors that make the name brands. But they're using the rejects. The fruit that wasn't pretty enough or sweet enough for Tropicana gets dumped into the Great Value vat. And the testing results? Not great. Walmart's Great Value OJ has shown traces of pesticides that are actually banned in American citrus groves. How does that happen? Simple. The concentrate gets shipped in from massive Brazilian operations where the rules are different. Labor standards, environmental regulations, chemical restrictions, all looser than what American farmers deal with. Then there's the heat problem. These budget brands blast their juice with extreme pasteurization that destroys up to 50% of the vitamin C. Half the vitamin content? Gone. You're basically paying for expensive sugar water at that point. The rock-bottom prices exist for a reason. These companies buy whatever the premium processors said no thanks to. Quality issues, weird flavors, off-colored fruit. It all gets blended together and slapped with a store label. But wait, it gets worse. Those shelf-stable cartons sitting in warehouses? They can hang out there for 6 months before anyone buys them. The flavor deteriorates the entire time. By the time it hits your glass, that juice has been on a longer journey than most vacations. Look, I get it. Money matters. But sometimes the cheapest option costs you more than you realize. So which 3 brands actually deserve your money? Let's break down the final verdict.